everybody, GT here from GT's Barbecue. Today I'm going to do something a little bit different. This is the Sunday after Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving. I hope everyone had a safe holiday. I want to do something different, so I decided to do some steaks. And I was watching a video on Tom Horseman's channel. I'll put a link up above for that. If you've not seen his channel, you should. He's royalty in the YouTube community. There's a lot of amazing stuff on there. But he had seared a steak on a pellet grill. And we had a conversation, and he wanted me to try to sear some steaks on my Rectech. So I decided it would be a good experiment to do. I've done it before. I think it's going to come out fine. I'm going to use an accessory called a Sear Kit, and it should be awesome. So I'll get these steaks prepped up here in a minute. Please stay tuned, and I'll be right back. Okay, so I picked up a couple of ribeyes here. Their choice, not prime. This one's a little thicker. This is probably a good inch, maybe an inch and a quarter. So they're nice steaks. They weren't cheap. Gosh, I think they were 15, 16, 17 bucks a piece. But if I'm going to cook a steak, I like a good steak. You can trim out a little bit of this fat in here if you want. A little bit of fat is good. You can always trim it off after. One of the things you're looking for when you buy a good steak is marbling. And marbling would be the little lines of fat that move up in and through the meat. This particular steak doesn't have a whole lot in here, but this is called the spinalis dorsi, this layer up on top. And I don't do competitions, but the guys in comp, that's what they're going to turn in to be judged on. And when you go to pick out a ribeye, you can see this thing is huge. This thing has a big, thick spinalis on it. This one not so much. But if you look at ribeyes, boy, some of them will just be a really little tiny part. This is just the most tender piece of meat, probably beef, that you can eat. It's delicious. So I'm going to season this really basic. This says Killer Hogs the AB rub, but it really isn't. I just like this shaker. Although I do like this product, and you should buy it if for no other reason, to get a nice shaker. So a little salt, pepper, garlic. By the way, I'll put my recipe for this down below. This is a really good one. We use this on almost everything. But be careful. A little bit goes a long way, as with all spices. You don't want to get crazy. The meat needs to be the star, a little bit like that. You do want to get the edges. And I also find the higher you hold the shaker, the more evenly the rub comes out. A little bit on the edge, like so. And then you don't rub. You've heard me say that before. Just kind of pat it in so it doesn't fall off. And I have this on some parchment paper just to avoid the mess. So there, just a really light coating of salt, pepper, garlic. Now I'm going to follow it up with a product I really like. This is from Cosmos Q. It's called Dirty Bird Hot. We don't want to go real heavy, but we do want a nice liberal coat. Pat that in. And again, hold the shaker up high. I got a little clump there. And when this is done cooking, that's going to still be there. So it's real important, if you want the end product to be right, that you don't do what I just did. So I make the mistakes so you don't have to. Just like before, I am going to rub the edges. Don't have to worry so much about the fat part. Just enough. And I'm going to let this sit. And we refer to it as sweating. There's some salt in here too. And after about 10 or 15 minutes, this is going to start to pull some of the moisture out of the center of the steak up to the top. And it'll moisten this rub, and then it'll suck it back down inside. So you get the flavor down deep in the meat. So there you go. Couple of nice ribeyes. I'm going to let these sweat for, gosh, I don't know, probably 15, 20 minutes. It's best if they get up to room temp. I'll get the grill fired up, and we're going to see if we can sear a steak on a pellet grill. Stay tuned. So what exactly is a sear kit? So this is it. These are aluminum extruded pieces of aluminum that interlock a little bit like tongue and groove. You have a hook here, and then you basically just push them together like so. They stay together. Then you can add the third piece, and you can also just slide them in like that. And then I'm going to just put this over here on the side of the grill closest to the diffuser plate so I can get some more radiant heat underneath. I'm trying to generate as much heat as possible with this. I do recommend, if you're going to do this, make sure you change the foil and make sure there's no puddles of bacon grease or anything down in the bottom of the grill, because at these high temps there could be potential for a fire. So once I get this thing fired up, I'm going to put the steaks over here at first. I'm going to cook them low and slow till I get up to about 118, 119 degrees. I'm going to take them inside, wrap them, and then I'm going to fire this up to high, which it goes to 500 is the highest setting, but high basically means the fan stays on and it just cranks as much heat as it possibly can. And in my experience, it gets up pretty near 600 degrees in here. So these are going to get raging hot. I'm going to spray them with some butter. You can also use duck fat. I don't happen to have any of that, but it really works well. Oh, and one other feature that I like about these is you can cook on them inverted. So if you put them together, they're good for pizzas, they're good for burgers. They kind of make a little impromptu griddle for the inside of your pellet grill. So I just want to give you a quick overview of what the sear kit means. And I don't know, I think these things are about 80, 85 bucks. They're not cheap, but man, they really can make a difference if you have a pellet grill. So I'll get inside, get these steaks prepped up here in a second, and stay tuned. Little quick side note, getting a little snow here. It's about 19 degrees outside. My porch is covered, so that's helpful. Stay tuned, we'll be back in a sec. Okay, it's taken about 30 minutes for Angus to warm up. He's sitting at 250 degrees. I'm going to go ahead and throw these steaks on. They're going to be low and slow. Let these go until the internal temp comes up to about 118 degrees. And then I'll take them off, wrap them, put them over here, and we'll get them seared up. So stay tuned. We'll see what we get here in a minute. Okay. It's been about 40 minutes now. I'm going to check the temp on these. 120 degrees. They're perfect. If there's one thing you don't want to do, it's overcook steaks. They're going to be medium rare when they're 130 degrees, maybe 132. So I'm going to pull these off now, get them wrapped up. Now what I'm going to do is turn Angus up so it stops at 500, and then one more click and it goes to full. Now it's going to pump out nothing but air and pellets until it gets as hot as it can get. So I'm going to probably let it sit here for 15 minutes, bring it up to temp, and we're going to go ahead and sear these. So in the meantime, my steaks will rest and get a lot of the love from that seasoning I put on them. So stay tuned. We'll be back here in a few minutes. Okay, it's been about 40 minutes and we're only up to 353 on the actual temp inside. It is 19 degrees out here, so I'm just being honest. We're going to see what this thing will do. Please forgive me moving the camera. I'm going to move over here. I'm going to put these steaks back on. Give it a quick spray of Pam Original. And I'm going to do 45 seconds per side. Shut the lid quick, because it really matters. You've always heard if you're not looking, you're cooking, but when you're doing this, it really matters. So I'm going to go 45 seconds. And I'll be right back. Okay, it's been 45 seconds. I'm going to turn these. I'm going to shut this. We'll see what we get. Okay, 45 more seconds. I'm going to just rotate these and not turn them. Be back in a minute. Okay, last turn. Shut the lid. Okay, that's the fourth time at 45 seconds. I'm going to check the temp on these. I doubt if you can see this. We're only at 122, so I'm going to let these go for a minute. I want to get them up to about 135 degrees, so it's going to take a little bit longer. Hang on. Okay, can a pellet grill sear? Well, we got some pretty good sear marks on here. I do have to say, in my Rectex defense, it was 19 degrees outside. I didn't have the winter cover on, which, by the way, you shouldn't put on when you're cooking at that high of a temp. So all in all, I don't think it did too bad. We're looking 134 degrees, which is a perfect medium rare. Anyway, both of these should be a good medium rare. Let's take a look. We got some decent marks on here. I'm going to go with the bigger one. Let's just cut this open. I'll tell you what, it's like butter when I cut it. So I don't know if you can see that. Hang on, let me get a piece. So there you go. It's juicy as heck. It's probably closer to medium than medium rare, but I don't know. I have to say it rested longer than I would have thought. I gave it 45 minutes so that the grill could get up to temp. And at the end of the day, it didn't get up to the 600 degrees I was looking for. So can a pellet grill sear? Yes, it can. I've done better sears than this before, but at 19 degrees, I'm going to say, dude, that's pretty decent. Whether it's seared or not, we have an amazing piece of meat here. Melt in your mouth. Perfect seasoning. At the end of the day, that's what you're looking for, but okay, so it didn't get sear marks like you'd want in a comp, but I got to give this a thumbs up. That thing worked well. Considering the temp outside, it stayed exactly where I set it until I turned it up to 600 degrees, and then it didn't get above about 357 degrees. So I don't know. I'm going to say I'm not going to go either way yet. I think this thing still can do a better job searing. To be continued, I suppose. But anyway, thanks so much for watching. Tom, I don't know what to tell you. We'll try this again another time. Appreciate your support. Once again, I'll have Tom's channel up above. So if you're so inclined, please like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.